Faith. It reaches past the understanding of the human mind, yet daily molds the human heart. The controversy between faith and science is not a new one, but recent studies have begun to re-examine what role human faith plays in the arena of medicine and health. Is there fact behind the healing power of faith, or does mere coincidence play a backdoor role in the field of health and medicine? As we examine this subject, you can decide where you stand on this controversial issue. Hello, I'm Steve Higginbotham, and you're watching Health Watch.
Welcome to a new age of health, a new age of health care. The time is now, so don't turn your head. Don't blink, for you might miss it. Become aware, watchful.
Faith plays an important part in each of our lives, whether we have faith in the air we breathe to give us life, or for many in this world, faith in a higher power that is the author of life itself. A standard belief in the unseen as a force that drives millions in the world to an understanding that we must believe in some things that we cannot see, touch, taste, or hear. The world of medicine is no different. We place our faith and our lives in the hands of doctors and surgeons that we've never met to cure illnesses that we've never seen. But in today's medical headlines, the role of spiritual faith in the realm of medicine has begun to grip the minds of theologians and doctors alike. Is there a connection, or is it just a case of wishful thinking? Today on Health Watch, you will see interviews of those both in the medical field as well as that of faith discuss this controversial issue which has plagued the 20th century world.
Faith is a big part of medicine. Faith in the doctor as a healer, and also faith in God as the ultimate healer who may well work through the physician. I find that people who have no faith and think that life is random and has no purpose have a harder time coming to grips with any kind of illness they have, and as a consequence they don't get better as quickly, or they suffer more as a result of that illness because it to them is meaningless.
I do feel that patients who have a strong faith probably have better health overall, but that can be due to several different reasons. A lot of people feel that God is able to heal them, that God can keep them healthy. Those people have good relationships with other people in the church family, which oftentimes will improve their health.
It's easier to build on a solid foundation, a good foundation, and I think that a faith does that. It also gives some fundamentals, some basics that can help relationships, just as every house or building has walls, ceilings, doors, windows, plumbing, those kinds of things. Relationships do too. There are some fundamentals that all good relationships should have. And I think a faith, a religion, a belief can help provide those.
People who tend to have strong faith are not as influenced as much by stresses in their lives. And by not having that reaction to stress, those people tend not to have the medical complications that stress can cause.
Now, I'm not saying that everybody, that you have to have faith necessarily to be at peace, but I think for those of us who are Christians, having that faith helps us aspire to that inner peace, which lets us then focus on the task at hand, be it providing care or establishing a relationship.
I cannot imagine life without faith. I mean, a tremendous amount of faith, I hope. Hopefully it gets stronger every day, and that's what's carried me through it.
I believe that faith and healing are inseparable, that there's really no healing without a faith relationship to God. Faith is an openness toward the process of life itself, and toward the God who is the author and maintainer of life.
But the Bible says without faith you cannot please God. also says that all things are possible with God. So the Christian has that assurance that no matter what his ailment is, God is able. And I think that's a very strong foundation.
We certainly want some outcome. We want things to be different or something to happen. And I think when people are in crisis, they need hope more than anything. Faith provides that hope. So it's more of a bridge for me than anything.
There was a saying during the Second World War that there are no atheists in the foxholes, and I think that illness is kind of like an enemy too, and that if it is a serious illness, it forces one to confront the fact that there is or is not a God, and what is my relationship with that God. So I think that illness is probably one of the most potent stimuluses to define one's faith and to find out what one believes in.
There's concern about what the outcome might be or what we were going to go through or face, but I've never been fearful, and I think it's because of my faith that I never have been frightened of the treatment or the outcome. It was just kind of like whatever's going to be is going to be, and God's going to be there with me. He's got his arms around me, and I knew he was going to take care of me.
I think people would like to believe that there is something that is in control of what goes on in their lives. Unfortunately, I just think some people are not meant to believe that. I think some people have a very difficult time of trying to grasp that concept. When your life is in peril and you realize that you may be facing death, I think people may use that as an escape, but unfortunately I still think that there are those people that just cannot comprehend an all-powerful creator.
It is helpful if it is there, but I'm not sure that everybody has that.
I believe it's the question people seek. Ultimately, I think people come to terms, all reasoning people come to terms with that very thing. Is there a higher power or not? And then, even more importantly, then what will they do with that? If I don't believe that, how does that fit into my life? How do I live my life accordingly? If I do believe that, how does that impact my life? How would I incorporate that into my life?
This has been the witness of many people for centuries, that in the time of crisis, something new happens, and they discover a strength to live they didn't know they had. It comes from, I guess, what I would call the core of their life. It comes from beyond their usual daily answers to problems. And they find that in spite of the fact they can't explain life, they can still live it.
In Job 13:15, he'd lost his wife, he'd lost his health, he lost all his money. He had friends who were criticizing him for what he believed in and said he was a hypocrite. And his final answer was, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. That's what you call bottom line faith.
I felt like prayer was my healing factor. I could feel prayer every day. It was almost like somebody was always praying for me, and I know they were, because some days you didn't know what to pray for, you know, and that was always being done for you. And I don't know how to express the thankfulness that I have for all the prayers that I've received.
My experience with prayer is that it also is a mystery. And I don't pray for healing because I think it works. I pray for healing because I need to. I don't understand the process, but I don't doubt that it's a vital part of healing. Not only the prayer of the patient, but the prayer of others around him.
There is very good evidence that faith and prayer affect healing. Healing is a making right of an evolving peacefulness with what cannot be changed, and a sense of well-being that all eventually will be well. Now that's what healing is. Now sometimes that does involve cure. In fact, for most illnesses that aren't fatal, it does involve a medical cure.
I believe prayer is certainly a way we communicate with God, and anytime we can communicate, it helps us. Rather than just be isolated or not be able to express what we're feeling or thinking. So I think prayer is vital in relationships.
I think it does bring them to a sense of spirituality, because they have to face the fact that you know, their ongoing existence is not going to be in this world or in their present form. And as a consequence, they have to face the idea either they cease to exist or they will exist in another relationship, in a relationship with God that's not here.
I do not feel like I went through the suffering that many people do with the degree of chemotherapy that I had. It was it was very severe. It's one of the strongest regimens that you can go through, I understand. And I felt like that I did not suffer to the degree that I was supposed to. I mean, they anticipated me suffering. You know, I've been told it was amazing how well I've gotten through this, and I just know it's been the power of prayer. It's been, so many people have lifted me in prayer, and God's carried it through me. And I wouldn't wish this on anybody, but it's been one of the most blessed experiences that I've ever been through in my life.
One person said that we tend to pay attention and give our resources and energies to those things that matter least to us in life. And again, crisis, I think, can help us, or crises can help us to focus on those things that really do matter in life.
Certainly, if a person has faith and they are peaceful and have a sense of belief in God, they sometimes do better just because of the fact that they're not anxious, they're not worried, they're not causing themselves more anxiety and grief than they need.
And that's one thing that I pray, that I do not go back and become the same person I was. God has put me through this, helped me through this, allowed me to go through it. I mean, He didn't wish it on me, but He has allowed me to go through this for a reason. And I want to stay focused and open to always hear His direction instead of my own controlling of my direction, which I was trying more to control where I was going, what I was doing, than probably allowing God to be in control.
Some say that the power of prayer can move mountains. In fact, the power of prayer to heal endless diseases and ailments saturates the text of the Bible. But is prayer just another name for mind over matter? Or is there evidence that prayer reaches above and beyond the scientifically explainable and into the realm of the supernatural? The issue of faith in medicine brings up numerous and perplexing questions. Can the supernatural and scientific coexist? Do all healings come as a result of the natural order of the universe? Or, if there is a God, does He use science to achieve His will for mankind? And like for many of us who suffer from illness comes the question of, why me? How do physicians and theologians alike answer the question of why when it comes to sickness and distress? Is there a broader definition of healing that both parties can agree on? And if so, what is it?
There were several studies done about a decade ago that did show that people who had strong faith, or people who had people praying for them, a lot of intercessory prayer, that these people did tend to recover a little more quickly. These people tended to have less relapse in their illnesses. They did not have the complications that people who did not have strong faith or were not having people pray for them seemed to have.
There was a study reported in a medical journal some time ago that people who prayed and had faith usually lived longer and did better than people who declared themselves to be atheists or agnostics. But they also did an interesting study that people who were prayed for by other people, independent of what the person who was ill believed, found that those people got better more frequently and did better than people who did not have somebody praying for them, which really kind of almost defies the bounds of science as we know it.
Yes, it's been shown by people like Gene Ochterberg or others who have studied faith and healing that there's a correlation between the psyche and the body, that they're inseparable. And when the soul works openly and trustingly toward life and what God is doing, the body is healthier. And without that, there's a struggle, a dimension that's missing.
I think there are several reasons for this type of response from the studies. One is, again, Christians tend to react differently to stress. If they feel that they may be facing death or that the illness is taking a toll on them. I think a lot of these people see this as something that God wants them to sustain and pull through, so they don't worry as much about the disease. They don't fall into the stresses that people who would normally be sick or feel ill would have, because they know that God can possibly pull them through it. And if He doesn't, I don't think Christians fear death as much, so they don't tend to have a negative reaction to illness the way people who have no faith in God would.
Scientific research has done a great deal to really help the medical field, but I think God is behind all of that.
I think God is the author of science because He created all things. And so if God wants to use science to achieve His will, He can. And if He wants to override science, He can, because He created it. He created the cell, He created the atom, He created the molecule, He created it all. So He knows very well what He's doing with His own creation.
Sometimes faith can have its drawbacks. I know that a lot of patients who feel depressed or have a clinical depression are reluctant to come to a physician because they don't feel that it's right that they as a Christian should have problems like this. So at times faith can actually work against an individual. Even in physical health, people may feel that the ability for God to heal them is there, and so they're reluctant to go to the doctor until it's absolutely desperate that they have to see the physician, and by that time it may be too late for medicines to really give them full recovery.
Well, I think that's very unwise myself, because I think God provides good doctors and good medicine to bring about His will, and obviously there are times when He doesn't need that, but for whatever reason He uses them, and I certainly think anybody who chooses not to go that way, they're really missing out.
Jesus' healing ministry is a mystery, I think. The statements of it come from the community of faith 20 or 30 years after the event, and so what we have is a report on an experience of people in the presence of Jesus. His healing is a mystery to us because it's reported in ways that don't seem to be natural.
Because you can't see, feel, or taste, or touch the Lord, that doesn't mean He's not there. There's evidences of the Lord in our creation, the way our bodies are designed, how everything works together.
I think almost every doctor has probably seen a miracle occur in their practice at one time or another, especially if they've been in practice for a while. Now, whether that doctor may see that as a miracle or as just an unexplained benefit or an unexplained healing that they have in their practice, that may make the difference between whether a doctor is a Christian, a believing Christian, or one that does not believe in a higher power.
And I think there are many places that doctors just can't explain what's happened. I was the head of a Bible college some years ago, and we had a student who had cancer, and she finally made up her mind that she was going back home to Illinois so that doctors there could take care of the surgery. And she asked all of us at the school and the student body to pray for her, which we did. She came after her last visit to the doctor there. She wanted to see him one last time before she left. He came in with her x-rays and he said, I can't explain to you what has happened, but he said, there is no trace of cancer in your body. And she said to him, well, I know what happened. I have a friend who helped me. And he said, well, who would that be? She said, his name is Jesus.
And I think that physicians are no different than people as a whole in that some of them are fearful, some of them are questioning, some of them are very faith-filled. And I think you bring who you are as a person to the way you practice medicine and what you bring to patients.
And I think for the physician, that's if they're a believer in Christ, that's a great benefit to them because they know that there's evidences of it, that God does work in people's lives, and that it's not just a make-believe or a fairy tale, but it's something that is really true. And I think doctors that realize that, they try to minister more to the whole person rather than just to the physical part.
You know, an article written in about 1998 said that about 40 out of 120 medical schools in the country now had spirituality and health offered, courses on that offered in their medical school. In 2001, that number had gone up to 70 out of 120 medical schools. So even medical schools now are believing that there may be a correlation between a person's faith and spirituality and medicine and how that can heal people of their disease or prevent them from getting sick.
You can have all the scientific foundation and principles and theories and concepts behind you, but some being started all that, and it has just left me in awe of a God that could put all this together. It's just amazing. It cannot have happened by happenstance.
I think it does take an act of faith on the part of a physician to realize that he's working with mysteries, and to be grateful for those mysteries, and to live with a sense of awe and wonderment at what God is doing with His patients, with His medicine.
More and more research is being done on faith-type activities, and it's helping to give, I think, credibility to the non-believing community that the things that we say and believe are true. I just read an article in a secular journal, Psychological Science, that referred to the adage, they used the word adage, it's better to give than receive. Well, that's the scriptural admonition. It's more blessed to give than receive. Well, they found that older couples who actually gave, either emotionally to other people or in practical ways, lived longer. So those kinds of things are helping people, I think, to buy in more to the things that we do.
And I think that's kind of the way with God. He created the world, and He fashioned it, He shaped it. He knows exactly what a person's need is. He knows what it takes to get that person well. If He wants to override the systems of the world and do that, I think He has the privilege to do that.
Science is just our understanding of the way things work. Science doesn't change anything, it just discovers how God is working in His universe. I don't see any conflict between faith and science. To me, faith is one function of a human being, science is a different function. Both are legitimate and participate in truth.
I felt a real blessing to know that there was physicians out there that are not just treating only the illness that a person's dealing with, that God is working through many, many people at different stages of life that you deal with.
I definitely feel that there is a correlation between a person's faith, especially a strong faith, and their ability to withstand illness and their ability to overcome illness.
We tend to focus on the physical healing as if that were all that we were aiming for, and in many cases I suppose it is. But the more important question is, what is God trying to heal? God heals the whole person, and not just the body. And it may be that sometimes His purpose is to heal the spirit, the soul, and the issue of the body then comes along on a different level.
I've been always fortunate with my faith, because I am in the medical field of service, that I also recognize that healing and hope might not be the outcome that we're looking for, but that doesn't mean that that's not God's healing and hope. There's many, many different ways of looking at that, and I witnessed that through the death of my father not too long ago, that we were praying for healing of his symptoms because we didn't want to lose him, until we realized that we were praying for the wrong type of healing. We needed to be praying for spiritual healing, and was granted that, to be able to see that. And that was probably the greatest gift that I have ever received, was to see my brother, when he passed away, come to Christ, and to know that my father had re-rendered himself to Christ before he died. To me, that's the greatest kind of healing that you can have.
We focus so much on the outcome. Outcomes-based everything. Objectives that we're going to reach, in search of this excellence. And I'm all for that. I certainly think it's important. You can't hit a target unless you know what the target is. But in the process, in doing that, we miss the process. The asking of the question why and the sorting through of that, whether we get the answer or not, can be just as important.
The why question is something that has confounded theologians and philosophers for many, many years. And you do get that from people. Why me? You know, and the other question is why not you?
I've never asked the question, why me? Because I don't feel like I'm any different than anyone else, and I should be exempt from any kind of hardships or problems that people face every day. I mean, I look on the news, you hear, and there's so many more people that have much more trials and tribulations that they go through than what I have gone through, I feel like.
Resolving an issue may not be the biggest thing. It may be two people sitting down and learning a different way to communicate with each other. In that process, they get to know each other better, more intimately. So I think sometimes we underestimate the process itself, or just the asking of why and sorting through that. There's great benefit in doing that.
Any major religion, any serious philosophic thought cannot avoid the fact that bad things happen to good people, and you can't ignore trying to deal with that. Now, having the answer is something that's totally different, because I don't think that we have the answer. I think that if we try to make up answers, I think we sometimes do people an injustice by saying one thing or another that you really don't know is true. It doesn't really give them solace. It causes them more consternation. It gives them a picture of a God who is either vengeful, or who doesn't care, or who is not the all-loving God that most of us would hope that God is.
Say, why does God do that? I don't know why God does those things, but He always does right. And my ultimate thought about these things is that's the ultimate purpose God has in dealing with people, is get them to see His Son.
I'm very happy to be alive in the 21st century and to see the growing discoveries, the awareness that the universe is much more marvelous than we had supposed. That Mars is not just covered with canals and little green men, that it's a far deeper mystery than that the world in which we live is a far greater mystery than we had supposed, that medicine is continually making strides in progress, and the things we're learning about the human body and the things we're learning about the soul really are marvelous discoveries, and they deepen the mystery of who God is and how He works.
My mother made a quote when she has had many bouts of cancer, and she went into surgery and she said, "Don't worry about me, I'm a winner either way." And that is the outlook that I have been blessed to maintain through my incidents, and when many, many people are in it. You know, if you have the faith and the hope of Jesus Christ in your life, then you're a winner either way.
Faith. The issue itself drives us to examine who we are as individuals and as a society. What does a life of faith mean for us? Is there certainty in faith? And how does faith fit into the realms that rely on certainty, such as medicine? Today on Health Watch, we've examined how the realm of faith and the world of medicine coincide. The questions are there. The answers are yet to be found. The decision is yours. Thank you for watching Health Watch. I'm Steve Higginbotham saying good day and good health.